Okay, welcome everyone to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today we're getting into the top headlines from Emmynet24 News. This is for June 3rd, 2025.
That's right. We've got the sources right here, and the plan really is to quickly unpack these key stories.
Yeah, pull out the crucial bits, the insights, and, try to figure out what they're telling us about Nigeria right now.
Exactly. It's quite a range today, actually. Politics, social stuff, national events.
Even some sports news in there, too.
Mm-hmm. So let's jump in.
Okay. So looking through these, one name keeps popping up, Nyesom Wike.
Definitely. The FCT minister. He's front and center in a few of these headlines.
And specifically regarding Rivers State, right? The potential state of emergency.
Yes. He apparently said that if President Tinubu had actually asked him first,
You would have opposed it?
he would have advised against it. Yeah, that's what the report says. Opposed the decision.
But it's interesting because he also made a point of saying he's not actually at odds with Governor Fubara, the suspended governor.
Right. Which is, well, it's a bit nuanced, isn't it? He opposes the idea of the emergency, or maybe the lack of consultation, but denies a personal conflict with Fubara. And then he criticizes the declaration itself anyway, saying, look, that's purely the president's call.
So it's like he's asserting his view, but also respecting the president's ultimate authority.
Kind of. It's complex. He's in the APC government, remember, but voicing disagreement on something related to his home state, which is PDP territory, traditionally.
Yeah, it really highlights those tricky dynamics, doesn't it? Loyalty, influence, party lines.
Definitely. And speaking of party lines, Wike was very clear about his own affiliation.
Oh, yeah. Still PDP.
Very much so, according to him. He basically dared anyone to try and kick him out.
Wow. Strong words.
Yeah, he said his contributions to the PDP totally dwarfed those of his critics. It's not just saying I'm a member.
No, it's more like an assertion of power within the PDP.
Exactly. I might be working with the APC government, but I'm still a major force you have to reckon with in the PDP. Untouchable, maybe.
And he didn't stop there. He went after Bo George pretty directly.
Oh, he really pulled no punches there. The quote was, George can't lecture me.
Ouch.
Yeah. Said he's done more for the party than George, and even questioned what George actually achieved for the PDP in Lagos.
So this is like a real public challenge to an elder statesman's authority within the party.
Absolutely. It signals some, pretty deep divisions, or maybe a power struggle, a generational clash, perhaps.
Okay, so that's a snapshot of the PDP side.
Yeah.
But the ruling party, the APC, they were also in the headlines, weren't they? Firing back.
They were indeed, responding to critics like Atiku, Amaechi, El-Rufai.
Right. What was their main argument?
Well, the core of it, as reported here, was basically saying, look, you guys had decades in power, and you didn't fix poverty. That was the main thrust.
And then defending the current administration's policy.
Exactly. Defending President Tinubu's economic reforms, calling them transformational. And they added a pretty sharp message for those critics, too. Something like, the era of exploiting the system is over, basically. Time to accept it.
So they're trying to frame it as, we're the change. They're the old guard who benefited from the problems.
That seems to be the strategy, yeah. Using poverty as a key point of contrast.
Interesting political maneuvering there.
Right.
Okay, shifting slightly, but still in politics.
Yeah.
Senator Orji Uzor Kalu.
Yes. He offered his perspective. It was mainly about his own background, his wealth.
What was his point?
He was really emphasizing that he never personally gained from politics, that he was already wealthy before he got into it.
A businessman first.
Right. He even mentioned contributing, what was it, $1 million?
$1 million, yeah, to help form the PDP back in 1998.
Exactly. So the narrative he's pushing is, I wasn't in it for the money. I actually put my own money in, shaping that public perception.
Got it. And sticking with the Senate, there was some quite serious allegations from Senator Natasha Akpabio.
Yes, that was quite striking, aimed directly at the Senate president, Akpabio.
What did she allege?
She claimed he pressured her for returns, political or financial, which were apparently disguised as performance reports.
Wow, that's a serious claim.
It is, and she used it to talk about what she sees as the politicized nature of the Senate.
And the influence of godfathers.
Yeah, political godfathers, she called them. Their constant influence on how things work, the legislative process. It paints a pretty concerning picture, if true.
Definitely raises questions about internal dynamics there. Okay, let's move away from the direct political clashes for a moment. There were national announcements, too.
Yes, a fairly straightforward but important one. Public holidays declared.
Right, for Eid-ul-Adha.
Yep. Friday, June 6th and Monday, June 9th, 2025. The government announced them as public holidays.
And the Interior Minister added a message.
He did. Dr. Olubunmi Tunjiojo, urging Muslims to reflect on, the core values of the celebration, sacrifice, obedience, drawing from Prophet Ibrahim's example, standard message for the occasion.
Okay, and then on a more personal level, but still very relevant nationally, rapper Falz.
Ah, yeah. His comments got quite a bit of attention. Known for his activism, of course.
What did he say? It sounded quite serious.
It was. He revealed he's actually thinking he might not raise his children in Nigeria.
Really? Why?
He linked it directly to threats he's received because of his activism and also just, the general insecurity in the country.
That's powerful. But did he sound completely negative?
Not entirely. He apparently still expressed hope for a better Nigeria. But it really shows that tension, doesn't it?
Yeah. Wanting things to improve,
yeah,
but facing these immediate, very real concerns about safety. It affects huge life choices.
Absolutely. It's a dilemma many probably grapple with.
And another entertainer, Daniel Etim-Effiong, the actor, he shared something personal too.
Yeah, he spoke about a past phase involving womanizing, described it as something he learned from. And he actually offered advice to young men, basically saying don't do it because of how it negatively affects, long-term relationships.
Came from a conversation with Chu Jidiano, right?
That's what the report said, yeah. It's interesting when public figures share that kind of vulnerability, using their own past as a lesson.
True. Okay, so we've covered politics, holidays, personal reflections. What about sports?
Right, the wrap-up is sports. The Super Eagles.
Ah, yes. What's the news there?
Coach Eric Schell announced a revised squad list.
Okay, for what?
For the friendly match against Russia. It's happening soon, Friday, June 6th.
In Moscow.
Yeah.
Luzhniki Stadium.
That's the one. And sounds like there were some last-minute changes needed.
Oh, injuries.
Yeah, the report mentions injuries prompted some swaps in the squad, but the team's already there in Moscow, getting ready.
Did they mention any specific players? Just to give a flavor.
They did list a few. Let's see. Laduka Okoye in goal. Defenders like Brightosay Samuel, William Trusty-Kong, Rafael Onyedika in midfield, among others on that updated list.
Okay, got it. So quite a mix today then.
Definitely. When you step back and look at it all, the political fights, Wike's balancing act, the APC pushing back.
Mm-hmm. Plus Kalu's story, the Senate allegations.
Right, and then the national holiday, Falz's very personal concerns about the country's future, Etim-Effiong's reflections.
And ending with the Super Eagles gearing up for a match.
It really does give you a snapshot, doesn't it? A diverse picture of what's being talked about, debated, felt in Nigeria on this particular day.
It does. High-level politics right alongside these, deeply personal decisions and national cultural moments.
Yeah, all these threads weaving together.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How these individual stories, the ones that make the headlines anyway, they combine to paint a picture of the country.
Absolutely. And maybe that leads to a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. Given Nigeria's immense diversity, so many people, so many different realities, how much do the words and actions of these few prominent figures, the ones we hear about day in, day out, how much do they really capture the full picture? How much do they reflect the broader aspirations, the daily struggles, the lived experiences of millions across the nation?
It's a really good question to leave things on. A lot to think about from just one day's news cycle.
Indeed.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah.